For our final presentation of the symposium, we have Rick Joy, founder and principal of Studio Rick Joy. He is an important contributor to the ongoing discourse on conceptual and sustainable design. His work expresses innovation and exactitude in modernism and reflects a unique sense of place. He has a long list of amazing awards, and including being inducted into the Interior Design Hall of Fame, most recently in 2019. He will be sharing with us identity through the grounding of experience in place. Welcome, Rick Joy.
Hello. How do I share my screen? Okay. Can you guys see it all full screen? Oh, okay, good. I thought I would just take the time, I had like 15 minutes to actually focus on daylighting. And to start, I'd like to share that I live there, and that's a ball of fire. And the daylight is incredible here in Tucson, Arizona. I don't know how to advance. I don't know Teams. I can't figure it out. I don't know. Now there's no arrows. There's just a timer. Sorry, I wish I knew how to do more. Hey, Claudia, I can't advance this. I don't know how to do it. No, there's no arrows, or I can't. This doesn't. Okay.
Okay, well, clearly we're having just a couple of technical issues, but no fear. I'm sure I can hear in the other room. The team is very close to getting the issue resolved. And I've just been noticing some of the questions that have come in. And Jose Fernando, I don't know that you'll be able to join us. I know that we were losing some connection. Oh, okay, well, we will get right back to Rick Joy.
So am I back on? Okay, so you see the map of California and Mexico and Hermosillo and Tucson, and that's where we live, the Sonoran Desert. But what's amazing when I'm trying to focus on daylighting is that in the American Southwest, the daylight is stunning. And what you often see is just a orange sunset in the magazines and stuff, but it's actually a beautiful white light. We do that. And so I think if you really want to focus on daylighting and just light in general, I like to teach people, the young people, that being comprehensively observant is a good start. Granada. The little things you can find just on the edges of life. Beautiful work from a guy with a grinder and a golf cart in Charleston, South Carolina, an artist. Look at that. And in the United States, we say that everything's the biggest and best. And so we have the world's largest rose bush, apparently. Some fish traps in Mali. Standing next to these fish traps is a beautiful, the darkest skinned person I've ever seen, with indigo in his eyes, white eyes, and a indigo wrap on his head, with a double-breasted suit catching little fish, and he made these traps to do it. It's art. Snapping lines and trimming trees in Paris. Colors, light. Ice crystals on my windshield in Tucson, which is pretty outrageous. sugarcane dripping on me when I'm reading the newspaper at night. The quality of light on the floor at a gallery in Venice, Italy. And I tend to take 200 or 300 pictures of these kind of things. Daylight. Light. And then we're lucky in Arizona to get something like this at the end of the day, most days. But one thing that one of my close friends helped me put together these 6 little slides of the tactile qualities and the colors and the surreal nature, the smells, and all of that in the canyon trips that I did until I was 60. I was addicted to this stuff. But it comes out in the work. That turned into that a few months later. And then on the same canyon, this is called Hell's Gate, Tonto Creek in the middle of Arizona. And 8 months later, it designed that. And so, you know, what I'm talking about being comprehensively observant means a lot to me, because I think if you just pay attention, you can find depth with daylight. And this is another canyon. That's another canyon. First house I ever did. And another canyon, our main office. So I'm trying to go pretty fast. So considering nuanced lifestyle and experience firstly is super important to me. I don't really care about or want to think about form first. So I'm just going to explain this one little house. And so it's a little site in Tucson. And what I discovered is that there's the perfect light event experiences for each of the 3 major program spaces. This one's for dining room, living room, kitchen. This one's for master bedroom, and this is a little den. And so what happens is the sun starts to set, and this is a 7,000 foot high mountain. I can't translate to kilometers very well, but it's really high. And so once it starts going down, the shadows trace across Tucson. And I'm trying to only focus on daylight. And what happens is that then suddenly the city lights come up, and then only the mountain is lit. Daylight. And then again, for the master bedroom, the sun rises over here, and it hits the tip of the Tucson Mountains. And it's like a glistening sounding, you can almost hear it, of bright light. And that's the view. And what happens is once the sun hits that, and it eventually backlights all of the ocotillo and saguaros and other cactus, the needles and everything, it just becomes really just a brilliant experience with daylight. And I leave this in for students out there who are maybe watching. This is when the sun goes down. I think the saguaros all do the Macarena. And so the house turned into this. 3 separate volumes that frame the views, instruments that frame the light show. And sorry, Velux, but these are little skylights that I made myself on this house, little strips of wood. But the important thing is that you walk on the ground and reorient yourself with nature between these buildings before you go into the the daylight experience of each of these buildings. Now, I can say that all of those skylights are Velux. just trying to promote because you guys invited me. So that's the little house in Vermont that we did. And then I think it's important to be conceptually insightful and giving in all the work. I mean, I learned this from reading books about Lou Kahn. I'm not old enough to have met him, but you can imagine a daylighting experience where the clients ask you to make a perfect place for them to have a cocktail at sunset. And so it's a longer story than I can tell in 20 minutes, but we do get, it's not like northern Sweden, but we get like 5 minutes of this, what we call the blue hour. And so daylight is an important part of my practice and life. There's no lights on that pool. That's a reflection from the blue light from the west sun setting. And then in opposition, helping Walter live in the shadows of the Tucson Mountains at the Desert Nomad House. Or, I have a good friend, Jeff Day, who's Nike Global Women's art director and a phenomenal photographer, came to Tucson and took these white light photos for me, that I always noticed when I was riding my bike around the mountains. And then there was a moment, talking about daylight, where I was given the opportunity, my firm, to do a chapel in Austin, Texas. And I had this idea that if there's a possibility, we could make it as if some entity, I'm not religious, so I don't know, or a person or God or whatever would be pouring divine light down onto the altar. And the great thing about it is that it's just always there. There's Jeff Day's picture again. Study after study after study after study to try to find a way to get divine light onto the altar, and that's what happened. Daylight. And so I'm pretty strongly influenced by the American Southwest, minimalist artists. And this is just a corner of my office, but obviously there's like a very strong connection to James Sherrill. He was a buddy of mine. Johanny Plasma says it best to me, that it should be more about the verb than the noun. The act of looking through the window and also walking through a threshold versus just making a beautiful window or a great gate. There's time for that later. Think about that first, daylight. Made friends with Olafur Eliasson when I was teaching at MIT. And he taught me that light really only comes to life when there's a participant, when there's a visitor to the art that he made here, or to the sun show at Tate, or if nobody's in the room, it's not art yet. So considering light, daylight, or whatever, this is a hallway in Taos, New Mexico, where the only light in this hallway, except for the one light on the bull sculpture, is coming from the ambient light from the adjacent rooms. And you can have fun with it. Like, this is a fiber optic Navajo rug that we found an artist in Stockholm that could make for us. Sidelight, Jan Vermeer, means a lot to me. And you can make a room by just putting the window in the right place, daylight. Whoever's sitting there reading a paper and the other person is making the coffee, you're going to look good in that space right there. Sanders, the great artist from Germany, had these beautiful pieces that were just polished drywall. And you could go up and see your ghosted figure. And we did that at that chapel I just showed you. Lots of references to Donald Judd. And so daylight in my most current projects, these are belvederes on a project on Long Island. But that I'm on Geary. And one of the things you get to do when you get, you make some architecture and stuff, is you get to go do some stuff that's fun in the world. And I gave a keynote lecture at the Alto Symposium many years ago. And the problem is I had to speak right after James Turrell, which was not easy. But that's me and Yanni Palazma making a friendship in a stave church where there's not even one piece of metal. All wood, even the hinges and locks are wood. Sometimes get to go teach in Australia, Glen Murcutt. Glenn had just given us these beers because, you can see Rick's face, Rick LePasteur. It's Peter Sutsbury on my left, on my right. And the work was so horrifyingly bad that Glenn's just like, you guys need beer for this one. And then finally, if you've read the text that I sent, I'm not following it. I don't like to read while I give a talk, but this is the project in Princeton. And we did all these buildings. The only thing that's missing in this drawing is this should be yellow. It's a 250-foot long canopy. This is all Stephen Hall. The Blair Walk, our transit hall, transit plaza, and a Wawa store. Too long a story to tell in this short context, but one thing that I do love to share is that people go over and rent the country club over here and walk over and do a processional and do their vows in our little train station. And somehow I clicked on the wrong thing, so I don't know what's going on. But I'll have to just leave it at that.
Well, that seems like a
well, somebody just cut me off. I guess that's the thing.
That seems like a reasonable place to stop then, Rick. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed your architecture from a distance. I grew up in the northern latitudes of the Americas, and then I spent time in Seattle. But I've always enjoyed seeing your work and understanding the contrast.